All right. So if you've ever thought about living in Thailand, that idyllic Thai life,
Mm-hmm.
owning property there has probably crossed your mind at least once or twice.
Definitely.
We're going deep on that today
Okay.
with excerpts from this article.
All right.
It's called How to Legally Own Property in Thailand as a Foreigner and Secure Your Dream Villa.
Okay, cool.
We're going to unpack everything,
Okay.
all the intricacies, the possibilities,
Mm-hmm.
and yes, even some of the tricky restrictions,
Right.
so you can walk away feeling informed and empowered about all this.
Yeah, it's a great topic.
Yeah,
There's often a lot of confusion around it, you know?
sure.
Thailand has this kind of unique blend of cultural values and economic considerations
Mm-hmm.
that shape their property laws.
Right.
It's not as simple as just buying a place like you might in other countries.
Right. And I think that's where this deep dive gets really interesting. It's not just about the legal how-to,
Yeah.
but understanding the why behind it all. For example, did you know that there's a historical reason why foreigners can't directly own land in Thailand?
Absolutely.
Huh.
Yeah, it stems from this desire to protect Thai land ownership
Okay.
for Thai citizens.
Mm-hmm.
There's a deep cultural connection to the land,
Yeah.
and the regulations are in place to prevent it from becoming dominated by foreign investors.
Interesting.
This helps keep property affordable for local communities
Makes sense.
and preserves that cultural heritage.
Yeah, so you can't just buy up a plot of land and build your dream villa from scratch.
Right.
It doesn't mean owning property in Thailand is totally impossible.
No, it's not at all.
In fact, there are several perfectly legal pathways to get there.
Exactly. And the path that's right for you really depends on your individual circumstances and goals.
Okay, so let's start with what's probably the most familiar option, owning a condo.
Okay.
Imagine waking up to panoramic city views from your Bangkok high-rise.
Wow.
Or stepping out onto your private balcony overlooking those turquoise waters of Phuket. Sounds pretty tempting, right?
It definitely has its appeal.
Yeah.
Condo ownership in Thailand is relatively straightforward for foreigners.
Okay.
You can directly purchase a unit and have full ownership rights,
Wow.
just like any other property owner.
Okay, cool.
However, there is a 49% cap on foreign ownership within any given condo building.
So 49% of the units can be owned by foreigners,
That's right.
and the remaining 51% must be owned by Thai nationals.
Correct.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Is there a particular reason for that specific percentage?
It's a balance that the government has struck
Okay.
to encourage foreign investment while also safeguarding Thai ownership and preventing prices from becoming inflated due to excessive foreign demand.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm guessing there are still some things to watch out for,
Oh, yeah.
even with condo ownership being relatively straightforward.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Due diligence is key.
Okay.
You always want to verify that the developer is in full compliance with this foreign ownership quota. Don't just take their word for it.
Right.
Ask for documentation
Okay.
and perhaps even consult with a lawyer
Yeah.
to make sure everything is above board.
Solid advice.
Mm-hmm.
So condos are a great option for those seeking a turnkey property in a prime location with that added sense of security of owning a piece of the building.
For sure.
But what about those of us who are picturing something a bit more spacious?
Yeah,
Maybe a standalone villa nestled in a tropical garden?
I like it.
Is that even possible for foreigners?
It is.
Really?
And that's where leasehold agreements come into play.
Ah, leaseholds.
Yes.
So instead of owning the land outright, you're essentially leasing it
Right.
for a set period of time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious, how long are these lease terms typically?
The standard lease term is 30 years,
Oh, wow.
which is quite a substantial amount of time.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is that you can have the option to renew the lease
Okay.
for additional 30-year terms,
Wow.
sometimes even up to 3 renewals,
Eh.
allowing you to potentially occupy the property for decades.
So in theory, you could enjoy that beautiful Thai villa for 90 years or even longer?
It's possible.
That seems like a pretty good deal, especially if you're not looking for a permanent move.
It's a very attractive option for many,
Yeah.
especially those who want the benefits of owning a property
Mm-hmm.
without the complexities of navigating land ownership restrictions.
Right.
However, it's important to understand that leasehold agreements come with their own set of considerations.
Okay, what kind of things should we be aware of when it comes to leaseholds? Is
Lot.
there anything we should be particularly cautious about? Well, the big one that comes to mind is the whole renewal aspect. You
Mm-hmm.
mentioned that lease terms can be renewed,
Yeah,
but is that guaranteed?
right.
What happens if the landowner decides not to renew the lease after 30 years?
That's a crucial point,
Yeah.
and it's where things can get a little tricky.
Oh, okay.
While lease renewals are common,
Right.
they're not automatically guaranteed by law. The terms of the lease and even Thailand's property laws themselves can change over time.
Right.
That means you could potentially face a situation where your lease isn't renewed
Oh, wow.
or the terms become less favorable.
That's definitely something to consider.
Yeah.
So how can you protect yourself in that situation?
Due diligence is, again, super important.
Mm-hmm.
You'll want to have a lawyer carefully examine the lease agreement
Okay.
to understand the terms of renewal,
Mm.
any potential increases in rent,
Right.
and your rights as a lessee.
Okay.
Having everything clearly spelled out in the contract
Yeah.
can help prevent disputes down the line.
So maybe even factor in regular checkups with a lawyer
Good idea.
to make sure you're up to date on any changes in the law or the terms of your lease.
Definitely.
It sounds like being proactive is key here.
Absolutely.
And another thing to consider with leaseholds is the potential for appreciation
Hmm.
while you benefit from living in the property. Any increase in the value of the land itself primarily benefits the landowner,
That's right.
not you as the lessee.
Correct.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
So while leaseholds offer a way to enjoy a property for an extended period, it's important to weigh those advantages against the potential limitations.
Definitely.
Now let's shift gears and talk about another option mentioned in the article.
Okay.
Setting up a Thai limited company.
Right.
This one sounds a bit more complex. Can you break it down for us?
Of course.
Okay.
Setting up a Thai limited company is a way for foreigners to indirectly own land in Thailand.
Okay.
The key here is that Thai nationals must hold 51% of the shares in the company,
Mm-hmm.
while you as the foreigner can hold the remaining 49%.
Okay.
This structure allows the company,
Right.
which is considered a Thai entity,
Mm-hmm.
to legally purchase and own the land.
So it's kind of like creating a partnership
Yeah.
where you have a controlling interest in the company that owns the land, even though you don't directly own the land itself.
Exactly.
Okay.
However, it's absolutely crucial to understand
Yeah.
that this company can't just be a shell company set up solely for the purpose of owning property.
Right.
It has to be a genuine revenue-generating business
Okay.
operating within the confines of Thai law.
Right. You can't just create a company on paper and call it a day.
No,
Definitely not. It has to be a legitimate business venture.
it does.
What are some examples of businesses that foreigners typically set up under this structure?
Well, it could be anything from a tourism-related business,
Right.
like a hotel or restaurant,
Mm-hmm.
to a trading company, a consultancy firm, or even a tech startup.
Wow, that's quite a range.
Yeah,
The key is that the business has to be viable and generate revenue.
exactly.
So this path definitely sounds like it's geared towards like a more entrepreneurial-minded individual,
Mhm.
someone who's not just looking to own a property, but also wants to establish a business presence in Thailand.
For sure. And it's important to note that setting up a company in Thailand involves navigating various legal and regulatory hurdles.
I bet.
You'll need to engage lawyers and accountants who specialize in Thai corporate law and taxation.
It sounds like a fairly complex process.
It can be.
Are there any other downsides or risks associated with this approach?
Well, one potential risk is that if the company runs into financial or legal trouble,
Uh-huh.
it could impact your ownership of the property.
Okay.
For example, if the company faces bankruptcy, the property could be seized as part of the proceedings.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So while the company structure provides a legal pathway to land ownership,
Mm-hmm.
it also comes with a higher level of complexity and potential risks that need to be carefully managed.
Absolutely.
Now, there's one more scenario I want to touch on.
Okay.
And it's the idea of joint ownership with a Thai spouse.
Right.
The article didn't go into too much detail on this one, so I'm
Oh,
curious
yeah.
to hear your perspective.
Joint ownership with a Thai spouse is an interesting area, and it often comes with some misconceptions.
Really?
While it's true that a Thai spouse can own property in Thailand,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't automatically grant the foreign spouse any legal ownership rights.
So even if you're married to a Thai national,
Yeah.
you don't inherently have any claim to the property.
That's correct.
Wow.
The property legally belongs to the Thai spouse,
Right.
and the foreign spouse's name wouldn't be on the title deed.
Interesting.
This can create
I
complexities,
bet.
especially in situations where the couple's financial contributions to the property purchase
Right.
might be unequal.
Right. I can imagine that leading to some potential tension or disputes,
Yeah,
particularly if the relationship faces difficulties down the line.
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's why it's essential for couples considering this option
Right.
to have open and honest conversations
Mm-hmm.
about their financial contributions,
Yeah.
ownership expectations, and what would happen to the property in the event of a separation or divorce.
So communication is key here. Are there any legal mechanisms or agreements that couples can put in place to
Yeah.
protect both parties' interests in this type of situation?
Certainly.
Okay.
One common approach is for the Thai spouse to grant the foreign spouse a long-term lease on the property.
Okay.
This provides the foreign spouse with the legal right to live in the property for a specified period,
Mm-hmm.
even if they don't have ownership rights.
That seems like a practical solution.
It can be,
Are there other safeguards couples can consider?
yes. Having a prenuptial agreement is always a good idea
Okay.
when entering into a marriage with potential property ownership implications.
Right.
This agreement can clearly outline each party's financial contributions, ownership rights, and how assets would be divided in the event of a divorce.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
It provides clarity and helps prevent potential conflict down the road.
it does.
Are there any other options besides a lease agreement or a prenup?
In some cases, setting up a trust might be a viable option.
Okay.
A trust allows a third party, known as a trustee,
Okay.
to hold and manage the property for the benefit of the beneficiaries,
Okay.
which could be both spouses.
Got it.
This can provide an additional layer of protection
Yeah.
and ensure that the property is managed according to the couple's wishes.
So, while joint ownership with a Thai spouse can be a pathway to enjoying a property in Thailand,
Yeah,
it's crucial to approach it with careful planning, open communication,
for sure.
and solid legal guidance to safeguard everyone's interest.
Mm-hmm.
Now, before we wrap up our exploration of property ownership options, there's
Okay.
one more topic I want to address,
Right.
the elephant in the room, so to speak.
Let's hear it.
The article mentions nominee ownership.
Right.
It sounds like something we should be very wary of. You could say that nominee ownership is essentially a workaround that some people try to use to circumvent the restrictions on foreign land ownership.
Yep.
It involves having a Thai citizen,
Mm-hmm.
the nominee,
Yeah.
purchase the property on your behalf, with the understanding that you'll be the one actually controlling and benefiting from it.
Exactly.
Okay, so why is it so risky?
Well,
And what kind of penalties are we talking about here?
for starters, you're essentially placing your entire investment in the hands of someone else.
Okay.
There's no legal guarantee that the nominee won't simply decide to keep the property for themselves,
Wow.
leaving you with no recourse.
That's a scary thought. So it's not just about the legal risks,
Right,
but
nothing.
also the potential for fraud and financial loss?
Exactly.
Huh.
And even if the nominee acts in good faith,
Yeah.
the Thai authorities are actively cracking down on these arrangements.
Okay.
If you're caught engaging in nominee ownership, you could face hefty fines, imprisonment,
Oh.
and even deportation.
Wow.
Plus, you'd almost certainly lose the property itself.
It sounds like the risks far outweigh any perceived benefits.
Definitely.
So our advice to anyone considering this path is simple. Don't do it.
Agreed.
It's just not worth jeopardizing your investment and your future in Thailand.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, before we wrap things up, I wanted to circle back to something we touched on earlier.
Okay.
The potential changes to Thailand's land ownership laws.
Right.
The article mentioned a draft regulation that could have a significant impact on the market.
Yes. This is a development worth watching closely.
Okay.
The proposed regulation, if passed,
Yeah.
could allow foreigners to directly own up to one ray of land.
Okay.
It's about 1,600 square meters, or roughly 0.4 acres,
Mm-hmm.
in specific areas designated by the government.
Wow. Direct land ownership for foreigners. That would be a huge shift.
It would be a big change.
Do we have any insights into which areas might be included in this designation?
While the specifics are still being worked out,
Okay.
the article mentioned that popular tourist destinations and economic hubs like Bangkok, Pattaya, and Phuket
Right.
are likely to be considered.
Okay.
The idea to attract foreign investment and boost economic growth in these key areas.
It's certainly an intriguing proposition.
Yeah, it is.
What kind of impact do you think this could have on the Thai property market if it goes through?
Well, it's difficult to say with certainty,
Right.
but it's likely to generate increased interest from foreign buyers,
Mm-hmm.
potentially leading to a surge in demand and a corresponding rise in property values
Makes sense.
in those designated areas.
So for someone who's been dreaming of owning a piece of paradise in Thailand,
Mm-hmm.
this new regulation could open up some exciting possibilities.
Definitely.
It'll be interesting to see how it all unfolds.
Absolutely. And I think this underscores a key takeaway from our deep dive today.
Ah,
The importance of staying informed and adapting to the ever-evolving landscape of Thai property regulations. What might not be possible today could become a reality tomorrow.
exactly.
Mhm.
So for those of you ready to embark on your Thai property journey, remember knowledge is your greatest asset.
Right.
Do your research, consult with experts, stay up to date on legal developments,
For sure.
and most importantly, don't be afraid to seek guidance along the way.
Couldn't agree more.
And never underestimate the power of having a clear vision of your goals.
Okay.
What kind of property are you looking for? What's your budget?
Mm.
What lifestyle do you envision for yourself in Thailand?
Yeah.
Having a solid understanding of your needs and aspirations will help you navigate the options and make informed decisions that align with your dreams.
Beautifully said. So as you explore the vibrant tapestry of options, from chic condos to sprawling villas,
Yeah.
remember that owning property in Thailand as a foreigner is absolutely attainable.
Absolutely.
It simply requires careful planning, due diligence,
Right.
and a willingness to embrace the intricacies of the process.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And with the right approach and a bit of patience,
Mm-hmm.
that dream of sipping a chilled coconut on the balcony of your own Thai home could become your reality.
It could indeed.
And on that note, we leave you with a final thought to ponder.
Okay.
If this proposed regulation does pass, how might it reshape the dynamics of the Thai property market? Interesting question.
Will it create new investment opportunities?
Hmm.
Will it alter the landscape of popular tourist destinations?
Right.
We encourage you to keep exploring these questions
For sure.
and stay engaged with the evolving world of Thai property ownership.
Absolutely.
Happy investing.